Before there was earth or sky, before the sun burned or time began to move, there was sound, pure, endless harmony. Every corner of heaven pulsed with light, a living symphony built around one truth, that all things existed for the glory of the Creator. And at the heart of that harmony stood one being, radiant beyond words, Lucifer, the morning star, the guardian of divine fire. His beauty shimmered like dawn breaking over eternity, and his voice led the songs that filled heaven itself. To the host of angels he was second only to God in majesty. But beauty, when admired too long in a mirror, can turn to worship of itself. Lucifer began to see his own reflection in the light, and what was once awe became hunger. The adoration that once flowed through him toward God began to curl back inward. He wanted to own the glory that had only ever passed through him. He whispered questions no angel had ever dared to ask. Why must the throne be above me? Why can't I rise higher? In the language of eternity, where thoughts echo louder than thunder, rebellion began as a single note gone off key. Heaven trembled, not yet in violence, but in silence. Every angel felt it, the slightest fracture in perfection, a faint disharmony that no one could name. Lucifer cloaked his pride in poetry, turning doubt into reason, and reason into a call. He spoke of freedom, of self-expression, of a higher truth beyond obedience. His voice, once heaven's melody, became its first deception, and for the first time in eternity, choice entered heaven. From the edges of light, angels began to gather, some drawn by his beauty, others by his words, many confused, unsure. Lucifer's charm burned like a star, his conviction intoxicating. He spoke of new beginnings, of thrones not yet built, and slowly, legions began to turn. Heaven's golden streets now shimmered under the weight of unrest. The same light that once united every being now revealed a split. Loyalty, doubt, awe, fear. In the courts of glory, whispers turned into silence, and silence into war. And in that silence, one truth remained. Pride had found its home in the heart of heaven's brightest creation. If stories like this open your eyes to the deeper truths of Scripture, don't forget to subscribe, because here on Bible Scope we uncover them every single day. The radiance of heaven had never dimmed before. Its light was eternal, neither rising nor setting, an everlasting dawn that flowed from the throne of God. Yet now a shadow moved across that brightness, not a darkness of matter but of spirit. Lucifer stood upon the crystalline sea, where reflections of eternity rippled beneath his feet. His form gleamed still, but his eyes had changed. What once reflected worship now carried calculation. He looked across the infinite ranks of angels, millions upon millions of living flames, each singing their part in the endless chorus, and he saw an army, not God's, his. He began to gather them, not with swords, but with words. He spoke of new light, of hidden knowledge, of a destiny long suppressed. He whispered that the throne was not eternal, that even the divine could be challenged, and that perhaps the Creator had kept power for himself out of fear of what his creations could become. His speech spread like fire in dry air. The angels who loved him, who once sang under his direction, listened in awe. Some wept, torn between love for him and loyalty to the source. Others began to question the perfection they had always known. Gabriel, the messenger, was among the first to notice. His eyes met Michael's, the captain of heaven's hosts, and in silence they both felt it. Something holy had cracked. Michael stood watch near the throne, his armor radiant with the reflection of divine fire. He had fought no battles before this moment, for there had never been one to fight, yet now instinct awakened in him, a defense of order, of truth, of the eternal harmony that defined their being. He found Lucifer near the northern edge of heaven, where the light dimmed into mystery. The morning star stood surrounded by angels, his voice echoing like wind through glass. When he saw Michael approach, he smiled, calm, confident, almost pitying. "Brother," Lucifer began, his tone smooth as light, "you have served faithfully. But have you never wondered why we bow, why we must give all glory to one who needs none? What if there is more? What if the Creator made us to rise, not to kneel?" Michael's wings spread, their span casting long arcs of light across the gathered host. "Lucifer," he said, voice steady, "your words are not wisdom, they are wounds. You were made to reflect light, not consume it." Lucifer's smile faltered, then hardened. "I am light," he answered. "I am the dawn, and I will not dim for him." The air thickened, if air it could be called, and the very sound of heaven seemed to hold its breath. The angels who stood between them trembled. Some turned back toward the throne, faces lowered in fear. Others drew closer to Lucifer, drawn to his brilliance like moths to flame. Then came the first sound of dissonance, a single note that broke the eternal song. Lucifer's followers began to sing a new melody, bold and strange, one that exalted not the Creator, but creation itself. Heaven shook. Lightning, pure light, uncorrupted, flashed from the throne, splitting the heavens. The host of loyal angels fell to their knees, covering their faces, and from that throne came a voice, calm, infinite, beyond sound or time. How you have fallen, O morning star, son of the dawn! Lucifer froze. The name that once crowned him now cut through him. It was not anger in that voice, it was sorrow, and that sorrow enraged him more than wrath ever could. He turned from the throne, his wings igniting with furious brilliance. Then let heaven choose, he cried. Let those who see truth stand with me, and those who fear remain slaves. The echo rippled through the cosmos, and in that moment choice became separation. 1/3 of heaven's hosts lifted their swords, not toward darkness, but toward their own. War had come to eternity. From one corner of eternity to the other, heaven shuddered. What had always been song became thunder. Harmony fractured into war cries. The river of light that once flowed from the throne now surged and split as angels, creatures of brilliance and flame, turned their power upon one another. Lucifer's legions rose in perfect formation, their wings a storm of silver fire. They were the brightest of the bright, the artists, the heralds, the guardians of beauty. And now, under the morning star, their radiance became rebellion. Michael led the loyal host, and behind him came power that words can barely hold. Tens of thousands moved like one being, light upon light, carrying the justice of the Creator. Their blades were not of steel, but of pure will, manifestations of truth that burned brighter than suns. Across the expanse of heaven, two armies faced each other. Silence, then impact. The first clash of wings sounded like mountains colliding. Light exploded against light. Creation itself seemed to recoil from the violence. Celestial fire poured across the firmament. Where Lucifer's followers struck, stars dimmed. Where Michael's host defended, galaxies flared to life. No death, no blood, only uncreation. Lucifer fought like a god, his power drawn from the glory he had once mirrored. His voice carried command, his radiance blinded. When he rose, entire ranks of angels faltered. He was magnificent, terrible, unstoppable. But above him, a light even purer moved through the chaos, Michael. Michael's wings cut through the storm, his face unshaken, his eyes like tempered flame. He spoke not with anger, but with resolve that pierced through pride itself. Lucifer, he called, your throne ends here. Lucifer turned, laughter echoing like breaking glass. You speak as if heaven belongs to you, brother. But heaven is mine to claim. He raised his hand, and a wave of force surged outward, a tempest of defiance. Stars bent beneath his will, space itself twisted. But Michael did not move. He lifted his sword, the reflection of divine truth, and with one word brought heaven's judgment down. Enough. The word carried power older than time. It tore through the rebellion like a command through silence. Lucifer staggered, his brilliance flickering, his song breaking into a scream. His legions faltered, their light turning pale, uncertain. Michael struck, not in rage but in righteousness. His blade, forged of obedience, split Lucifer's crown of light. The morning star's glow shattered, scattering embers across the void. For a moment all was still, then came the decree. From the throne the voice of the Creator filled all that is and all that will be. No longer shall you bear my light. You are cast down, fallen from your place. The morning star becomes the sun of the abyss. Lucifer fell, not through distance but through being. His light twisted into shadow, his beauty into ruin. As he descended, the stars mourned and heaven wept, not for the loss of power, but for the loss of love. Those who followed him fell too, their brilliance extinguished, becoming fragments of darkness, what would one day be called demons. And for the first time, silence returned to heaven. Not the silence of peace, but of aftermath. The war was over, the wound remained. Michael stood before the throne, sword lowered, his face solemn. Around him, heaven's host bowed, not in victory, but in reverence, for they had seen what pride could destroy, even in perfection. And somewhere far below, in the endless void, a new kingdom began to form, born of rebellion, crowned in ruin. Lucifer, the fallen light, opened his eyes to darkness and smiled. Heaven never forgets. Even now, beyond time and matter, the scar of rebellion remains, a silent mark in eternity, a reminder that perfection without humility becomes corruption in disguise. Lucifer's fall was not born in darkness, but in light. He did not descend because he hated God, but because he loved himself more. Pride, the quietest seed, the smallest spark, was enough to set fire to eternity. And yet, in the mystery of God's mercy, even the fall became a lesson for all creation, because in that war heaven learned what love truly meant, not blind devotion, but choice. The same freedom that allowed Lucifer to rebel also allowed the faithful to remain, and that freedom would one day reach earth itself. Centuries later, when humanity was formed from dust, the echo of that first rebellion still lingered. Pride would whisper again, in gardens, in hearts, in empires, in every place where light touched shadow. And though Lucifer fell, his voice still travels, disguised as self-worship, ambition, resentment, and doubt. Every time a heart says, I will rise above God, it speaks his language. Every time a soul humbles itself and says, Your will, not mine, heaven answers back with the same strength that once defeated him. In the end, the story of Lucifer is not about a fallen angel, it's about us. It's about the constant tension between worship and self, between surrender and control. The greatest war ever fought was not over a throne of gold, but over the direction of the heart. Lucifer looked at his creator and said, I will ascend. But the Son of God, standing centuries later in flesh and pain, would look toward heaven and say, Not my will, but yours be done. That is where pride ends and redemption begins. And even now, as light and darkness still move across the world, heaven's silence waits for one final note, the restoration of harmony once lost, when the last shadow fades and the song returns complete, because even after the fall, the morning star still points to a greater light. And somewhere in that light, there's still a voice calling us higher, not through pride, but through surrender. If stories like this help you see the Bible in a deeper light, remember to subscribe to Bible Scope, where every story brings ancient truth back to life.